As the record plays, love. Bye. As the record just turned.
Hi there, folks. I'm Keegan Van Hook, and this is Us As We Are. What is going on here in Ashland today?
We have the Ashland Chamber's 4th of July celebration. We're so excited to be here with the community, celebrating this year. So many members of the community just coming out to be together, and happy to be here.
I'm Nancy, and I live here in Ashland.
Okay, and what brings you out to downtown today?
It's the 4th of July. We haven't had a parade in, 3 years, so you gotta be here. You gotta love it. It's spectacular.
I think it's awesome. It's wonderful. It's great to see the community come together, and everyone seems to be having a good time, and it's fun. I'm really excited to be here, and yeah, we just moved to Ashland, so this is awesome. Yeah.
I concur. It's awesome. It's amazing to see the people come out and gather, especially what's going on. This is a great sense and feel of community. We love it.
You are a great Abe Lincoln.
Thank you.
Well, I come to the 4th of July parade almost every year since 1992, the very first one that I went to. I love it because it's patriotic and small town.
The people are here. It's nice cloud cover. As your counselor, I will maintain cloud cover for every 4th of July parade from now on. So it's nice and cool.
Yeah, just hopping in here. This is a pretty surreal experience. We're just seeing everybody out here. It's pretty nice. Hi, everybody.
I gotta wave.
Hi, my name's Scott. I'm from California.
What brings you to the Ashland Parade today?
I came here to see the American Band College perform, and it was awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah, we really enjoyed the parade. It was longer than we expected for such an interesting old town. It's a big crowd. It's really nice.
I have a website, walkashland.com, and I have 3 articles on there about the biggest 4th of July bash in Ashland's history, which was in the year 1916. So we had 3 parades, July 4, 5, and 6. 3 days of fireworks, 3 days of bands playing in Lithia Park, and the grand opening of Lithia Park in 1916. It was a big blowout. Medford and Grants Pass canceled their parades, and everybody came to Ashland. But also Southern Pacific brought people in from San Francisco, Sacramento, Portland, Eugene on the Southern Pacific trains that year. There were around 30,000 people on 4th of July, but they said for the 3 days there were 50,000 people altogether. But think about it, the population of the whole county was only 20-some thousand people back then. So for comparison, it was a monster.
Good grief.
Well, my name is Jeff. I live here in Ashland. I live at Maple Ridge Senior Living Center. And I like to sit on my corner out there on Main Street in Maple all the time and show my message. I think it's important, and today I thought it would be good to come down and just share the message with everybody. And
what is the message that you're trying to spread?
The war over there is wrong. Down with Putin. I think he's a piece of garbage, and he's not a genius. There's absolutely no good to this that I can see whatsoever. He's damaging his own country worse than he's doing to Ukraine. I mean, he's damaging Ukraine physically right now. But they're going to recover, and the rest of the world is going to be behind them to help them recover. And nobody's going to be behind Russia to help them recover. It's going to take them decades to recover from this.
Hey, Jeff, Richard. I see you all the time up there.
Well, thank you.
Good for you.
Good.
Slava Ukraine. I follow it every day.
I do too. I think it's an important message.
And on the subject of today, are you having a good time down here?
I'm having an excellent time. I wish the weather was a little nicer, but actually this is kind of nice because it's kind of cool, and so everybody's not going to get overheated or anything like that. But it's a decent day for it, so I think everybody's having a good time. Seems to be a lot of people out. I was in the parade 3 years ago with Maple Ridge when I was living down there. We had a float, and we got third place for, our entry, and myself and another guy rode around in our chairs around it, and that was a lot of fun to do. So
Yeah. What was that like, going down the middle of the street here with all these people on either
it was a
side?
blast. It was a lot of fun. And right now it's fun to do too, but I'm not actually in the parade, but it's still fun to do. I'm getting a lot of good reactions.
And are you having fun?
Oh, we're having a great time.
Now, is this your house here?
No. We're friends of the people who live here, and they're out of town. So.
Oh wow. Okay, so you got a great spot to
We
watch
have
the
a great
parade.
spot. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, wouldn't miss it. Got to be here.
My wife and I love to go near the Varsity Theater because it's not too far from where the announcers are, and so usually the bands are playing and the dancers are dancing. The community groups are just so much fun.
I love the girls in leotards, the gymnasts. They were so adorable, and they were doing all their flips and everything. That was wonderful.
You know what? I'll go with her, the youth, because that's tomorrow's Ashland. So that's great to see.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm just here for the Jets. Jets were great. I saw them circle back. I was really disappointed. Thought they weren't going to fly over. They came back. It was dope. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Parade was fine. Parade's always average. Jets were dope. I think a pretty decent turnout considering that, it hasn't happened in the last couple of years. So, yeah, I mean, it's great to see, everybody out. I think we need more Jets. A third flyover would have been nice. Maybe even a fourth, but that's all I'll say. Yeah, final words.
And now we have activities in the park. We have music going on in the band shell. There's a couple nonprofit food vendors up there. And then up here in the front of Lithia Park, we have our family activity zone, which is sponsored by Rogue Community Health. And we have Ashland Aerial Arts here. And then, of course, our friends with the Lithia Artisans Market are here this afternoon, too.
It's almost becoming a tradition, I think, to talk to you on this day or around this time of year.
Totally.
But how about you go ahead and introduce yourself for us again?
Marcus Scott, Lithia Artisans Market. I run this booth, which is the stone bead, hand-cut stone beads, and then I'm the manager for the Lithia Artisans Market. 4th of July, you love it when it falls on a Friday or a Monday, right? So here it is on a Monday. Look around, man. I mean, just like, it's insane, right? You haven't seen people out in this level of density since the pandemic. I mean, the market's been open since, the 20th of June, 2020. Here we are, 2022, July 4th. Wow. Huge, man. I mean, just I'm kind of like mind blown by it, to be honest. It's kind of a trip.
Well, this is our first 4th of July here with her, so we wanted just to have just to enjoy the festivities and get a taste of the ceremonies. It's fun. Yeah.
And are you guys having fun?
I think we're just starting to. It's hard with a 2-year-old because she's just so she's like a tempest in a teapot. So we really haven't tried to control her, but yeah, for the most part.
This is nice though. This is cool. This is the first time they've tried this thing. Getting the aerial arts and kids stuff going on. Maybe keeping it huddled here closer to downtown is a good call. I don't know. We'll see, man. Always trying something new. Make it work, right? That's what I've learned. Flexibility. I think we talked about that before. Being flexible. Work with people, communication, able to do things together rather than exclusive, like this is just for this person, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Inclusive is where we need to be, right?
We actually were just saying how incredible it is that this is such a family-focused event. A lot of the events that we've gone to in other cities have been very adult-focused, so it's really nice that it's geared for everyone.
I want to ask, what is a Chamber of Commerce? What do you guys do for the community?
So we are a membership organization that supports our business community by, doing a number of things, but this part of the arm of the Chamber is really about helping to build quality of life here in Ashland and really bringing people in the community together, which is such an important part of the Ashland community. Just giving people and celebrating with the community many different things. We do a number of events in Ashland.
This is the greatest place there is to live. I grew up in the Bay Area, so this is a really good place. My best friend is still in the Bay Area, and she says, I live in a bubble. And I said, I'm very happy to be in my bubble.
The 4th of July celebration in Ashland was a lot of fun. But not everything is peachy in America's 246th year of independence. Only a few hours after the parade in Ashland, we were brought to Vogel Plaza in Medford, where a group of people had gathered to speak out against recent Supreme Court rulings.
My name is Sam Strong. I'm with the RV Pepper Shakers here in Southern Oregon.
And what are you guys doing today on this 4th of July?
So today what we're doing is we're bringing awareness to the idea that America is free to everyone, that it's a free country, everything like that, when it's really not. If everyone isn't free, then no one is free, and that's kind of the idea that we're bringing out here is if you are a cishet white man in America, sure, you have your freedoms, but women don't have our freedoms now. People with uteruses don't. Brown and black individuals, that's what we're bringing attention to out here today. Yeah.
So you're out here in response to the Roe v. Wade decisions by the Supreme Court?
Yeah, so it's obviously it's very convenient that 4th of July is landing like a week after that's happened. But this is about Roe v. Wade being overturned, and it's also about what's going to happen later on now that Roe v. Wade is being overturned with gay rights, trans rights, interracial marriage, things like that.
Are you concerned that the Supreme Court might kind of continue down the path that it's going to, sort of in the right-wing direction?
Absolutely. I think it's impossible that things like that won't happen. You know, for a long time we've been able to say, well, Roe v. Wade will never be overturned and things like that, but now we can't say that. We can't excuse that things aren't going to happen just because we think they're not going to.
My name's Tiffany, and I am here to protest against 4th of July / the overturn of Roe v. Wade.
How did you feel when the Roe v. Wade decision was made?
I knew it was coming, but when it happened, it was still unbelievable. Feels like we should have turned our clock back 50 years, you know, like, it's unfathomable.
And you said, like, protest 4th of July. Could you expand on that more?
Well, this is supposed to be a celebration of our country, and I don't think there's much to celebrate right now. When half of the population gets such important rights taken away from them, there's absolutely nothing to celebrate.
Well, basically, I'm just here to protest against the loss of our rights in general.
How did you feel when, like, the Supreme Court decision was made?
Well, I was on vacation, and it was fucking horrifying to be away from my community at a time like that, and just that uncertainty, just seeing that, like, waking up in the morning and seeing that sort of thing had happened was just awful. And as someone who really believes in feminism and reads a lot of feminist theory and really partakes in that culture in general, it was just genuinely one of the most heartbreaking mornings of my life.
Hi, my name's Shawnee. You can call me Shambo. Hello.
Shambo.
Hello, world.
And what brings you down here to Vogel Plaza today?
To protest the last bill that was passed.
You're talking about the Roe v. Wade decision by the Supreme Court?
The protesting that of just that, you know, it is, like it said, it's a trigger law that this being passed, it kind of opens up the door for a lot of other, making it a little bit like it's going to be easier for people to pass a lot of laws that kind of make America what it is, you know?
All right, go ahead and introduce yourself. Just explain what brings you down here today.
Sorry. Hey, what up? My name is Josh. I'm just down here for a very obvious reason to me. How do I celebrate freedom in America when half of Americans, for the first time in the history of America, have had their civil rights stripped away? How can I celebrate? So instead of doing celebrating, I'm doing the one thing I can do. I'm exercising my First Amendment right while I still have it. Yeah!
And your sign says?
It says, what is there to be proud of? Basically, I'm just trying to express the fact that the handmaid basically draped in the American flag cloth is crying 13 stars, which of course represents the 13 states where women's rights were immediately revoked. Basically, this is the future we're heading towards if we don't do something about it. And I'm out here just trying to get my voice heard. I want women to have the same rights as me. You know, I want my sister, my mother, my female friends, I want all of them to have the same rights that I as a man have. And I don't think that's uncalled for. Bodily autonomy.
My mom was a radical feminist in the Bay Area. And she was a radical feminist her whole life. It wasn't as if she kind of said, oh, this is something that I'll do every other day or weekend or whatever. But when I was a kid in probably middle school, we lived in San Diego, California, and she would find women through a network of some sort who needed abortions. Abortion was illegal at that time. And she would have these young women come into our house and stay with us, and she would take them to Tijuana for safe abortions, and then back for checkups, and stay with us for 2 weeks. And she was absolutely, completely on the vanguard of abortion rights. She lived it. She completely lived it. And then finally, Roe was, she's dead now. She was 95. But when Roe happened, it was like a great turning point for her work, her radical work, her progressive work. And when Roe went down, I just cried because she spent her life, making sure that people could have safe abortions and all other rights, farm and workers' rights, minimum wage rights, every type of right was my mom. Her name was Jean Pauline.
I'm pro-choice. I believe in women being able to choose what to do with their bodies. I think it's really important, and I have 3 nieces and 4 very smart nephews as well, and I think that they're all pretty much on the same team, and that's actually my message is for the little girls out there that maybe have dads that are telling them a message that isn't so great. So that's actually what my message is for on my board. Because I think, I started to write some messages that were maybe a little bit angry, because that's how I was feeling lately. And then I thought that maybe my message, how would a little girl feel in the back seat? And then I thought that that's who I would decide to write my message for instead.
I'm Joe Yetter, and I am running for Congress in Oregon's 2nd Congressional District. I'm here today because I am a retired physician. When I was in medical school, I saw women die of abortions. When I was an intern, Roe v. Wade was decided and the world changed, and it changed for the better. Women were able to terminate pregnancies when they needed to for health reasons, all kinds of reasons. It was their choice. That was all good. I have a dear friend who, when I was in medical school, sought an abortion, was unable to get an abortion in the medical facility, got an illegal abortion, got desperately infected and ill, and had to have a hysterectomy and bilateral oophorectomy, basically nothing in her pelvis anymore. And she's in pain for the rest of her life. A wonderful human being, and this is what happened to her. So I'm motivated by my professional experience and by my personal experience. Right now in Oregon, we're kind of safe, but what the Supreme Court has said is that it's up to the legislatures. And what they sort of mean is state legislatures. So in Oregon, we have to defend the Democratic majority in the state legislature and maintain control of the governor's mansion in Oregon to protect that. Nationwide, we have to contest every race in every state to try to keep state legislatures from outlawing abortion. If abortion is outlawed, and you ask me what America looks like, America looks like a place where women get illegal abortions that are sometimes botched, they get infected, they bleed to death, they die of one thing or another, or they're disabled for life, like my friend. Their careers are cut short, their education is cut short, they remain in abusive relationships and are hurt or murdered. That's what America looks like. It's a dark and dismal place that this court decision is taking us, and not just because of abortion, but because of all the other rights to privacy.
With the Roe v. Wade thing being overturned, Oregon, it's protected in our Constitution in Oregon under the Reproductive Rights Act. So in Oregon, we're not at risk of losing our reproductive rights yet. Again, we can't say that it'll never happen, but in Oregon, the best course of action is raising awareness, raising funds for other organizations in other states that are going to be struggling, things like that.
It definitely affects people I know. I have lived all over the states. And I know so many people who are just heartbroken by this and terrified by this. So yeah, I mean, I don't know any woman, or just non-man, anyone who was born with a uterus who isn't terrified by this.
There are parts of the law that I personally haven't experienced. What they're banning, what they're making illegal on a lot of ways, there's a lot of gray areas that are now in question.
What are you worried might happen as a result of this?
I feel I'm worried about the same thing that everyone else is where everybody else that's worried here is just a lot of other civil liberties and like human rights that are being violated by that law. And just what that makes okay in legislation, and how a lot of it is there's a lot more religious persuasion in it, so it's gonna open up a lot of other doors for making gay rights illegal, because there's a lot more aspects of people like wanting to have abortion than what, there's a lot of gray areas, so this is our right, freedom of speech. We're here to say like, no, that's what a democracy is, to be able to protest and to be able to have that freedom of speech. Like, this is our right, being American, to be able to protest.
I personally think that right now what men need to be doing is, if they can't stand up with women, standing up for their rights, they need to sit down, shut up. And at least listen. Open your ears and at least listen to what the women in your community are telling you. Do not just go along with this. I think the number one thing I hear most from men is they want to defend and be like, oh, it's about states' rights. And I'm like, yeah, that's the same thing they said about slavery, dude. Ultimately, there has to be inherent constitutionally protected rights. And we fought for this. 50 years, this has been a hard-fought battle that we won. Now we're right back fighting all over again. I don't know if you guys are following the news. There's like a 10-year-old in Ohio. She was raped and she was impregnated, and the Republican response, it's a miracle and it's an opportunity from God. And it's like, dude, raping children is not a miracle. And denying that girl a right to not be killed by the child that was forced inside her is not a crime. It's a healthcare issue. It's a human right. So again, why we're out here? Because we need to, as men, stand up and remind other men how we need to be acting and protecting the women in our community. Standing up for all rights, equal rights.
Horrified. And I'm horrified at the Supreme Court, at everything that they want to do and everything that they're doing, and the fact that they are continuing in every single decision to reduce our rights and reduce our ability to be Americans. Feels like it's not the same America that it was when I grew up, The fact that there's open carry laws in Texas and now in New York, and why would any kid want to go to school now? When I was growing up, it was pretty safe, but I'm just so with this group. I'm so with this coming wave of radical protest. It's absolutely necessary.
I support human rights, and I think that the right to privacy is a fundamental human right. And I think that the recent Roe v. Wade Dobbs decision is taking away not just those rights, but all the rights to privacy, whether it's to marriage or to intimate relationships with people, interracial marriage, all kinds of things. It's a very slippery slope. It's time to get off that slippery slope. So what I want to do in Congress is to incorporate, to legislate the protections of Roe v. Wade into law, to codify them into law. It's going to take a majority in the House. It's going to take an overwhelming majority in the Senate as well, and then a Democratic president to sign it. So that's what I think needs to happen. That's why I'm here, and that's what I want to accomplish. Once again, it's Joe Yetter running for Congress in Oregon's 2nd Congressional District.
How free and independent is this country? Is this country really a democracy? Is it more of an oligarchy? Like, how much of the laws that we get passed is more based on lobbyism than it is actually democracy,
I believe my mom should have aborted me. My mom should have never been a mother. She was missing something. She did not have that mother gene. I don't know if it was trauma. I don't know if it's genetic. She did not love her children. She was also a drug addict. Growing up was really hard. My childhood was really, really rough. I didn't have my basic needs met. I was abused. I was malnourished. I joined the military to get away from that, and because of the malnourishment my body crumbled. So it's a forever thing. And I think she should have aborted her children. She wasn't meant to be a mother. She should have had that right. She did. She didn't make that choice. But the idea that she could have been forced to have us is just insane. Now, that's not to say I love my life. I'm grateful to be alive. It goes hand in hand. I can believe in both. I can be grateful, but at the same time believe she should have aborted her children. She didn't love them. Not everyone's meant to be a mother. Just because you can carry doesn't mean you should have children. That's a lifelong commitment. And if you don't want that commitment, your children will suffer. Even if you give them up for adoption, they will suffer. And that's not fair. And that goes with my spiritual beliefs. You talk to a religious person, they'll discredit me, but that's your religion. Don't put that on me. I don't believe I would have never existed. I would have come up in a different way. So that is why church and state should be separate, because your religious beliefs aren't the same as mine. You think life is so sacred that's the only chance you get and you never get another chance. I don't believe in that. So therefore, I believe my mom should have aborted me, and I would have come up in a different way.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking when you said that, like that, a religious person would probably ask the question of like, oh, well, aren't you thankful for your life and what you've been able to make of yourself despite all of your challenges? And your response to that would be?
I am grateful. I am happy. I mean, it was rough, and I still go through it, and I'm going to go through it my whole life trying to undo the traumas that were done to me. But I'm still grateful. I'm happy that I exist. I can believe in both at the same time. I'm grateful to be alive. But she was not meant to be a mother, and there's nothing in this world that could have given her that. She didn't have that. She hated us. She blamed everything on us. I can't describe what it's like to be a child, and the one person that is supposed to love you unconditionally never does. Unless you know what that's like, you need to stay out of it. Because it's awful. It's absolutely awful. And no one should be forced to have children if they don't want to.
But what is terrifying about it?
The fact that someone who I don't know, who doesn't know me, has control over my body and the body of basically anyone that can have a child.
So, but it is, with this being passed, it is a descent towards, we don't want it to descend that way, but that's where it's headed if this continues on.
A descent towards what?
A fall of the America that we know. You know, about our fall of the freedom, the liberties that we have that we're given in a God-given right, or just to becoming more restricted, because we as Americans, we do have a lot of freedoms and liberties, and these sort of laws can lead to having less of what we have now. And I think that's something a lot of people take for granted, how many liberties and freedoms we have as Americans, but also this is one of our freedoms, protesting the laws that we get, of just having that right. And that's a big part of it, is we can say we're against it. And sometimes the impact may feel small, but it's we the people. And so, yeah, from my understanding, and I'll say that because there's a lot of aspects of things that I don't know all the way, but I do know I have this right. It's legal for me to be here, and it's illegal for me to say I'm against what has happened, and that's one of the American rights.
I was pretty shocked. I felt like we really went back in time, and I felt like it was pretty surreal, and it has to be a matter of time before things change back. There's no way. There's no way that this is gonna stick. It can't. It can't.
What do you think can be done?
There's all these voices. I think just people are gonna have to speak, but they're gonna have to be peaceful about it. They're gonna have to keep their head on straight, and they're gonna have to be coming from the right place. I think a lot of people are gonna have to weigh their words, because we could all be a little bit rash, and that's not what we need right now. That's not. So, and I think communicating with one another, people who think that we all agree the same thing, and bouncing ideas off of one another and really coming to a place where we can find some measure of balance with everything.
I am delighted to work with anybody who honestly wants to reduce the number of abortions. And the way you do that is you educate young women and girls in schools. You educate young boys about respect. You make available health care for everybody, particularly long-acting reversible contraception for young women. Like in Colorado, they lowered the unintended pregnancy rate and the abortion rate by over 30% just by making available to young girls in schools long-acting reversible contraception. In addition to that, if you have a prosperous economy where people are making money and so on, it reduces the economic strain on people that may cause people to elect abortions. If you have stable families, have mental health care, you may have fewer abusive relationships that result in pregnancies that go awry, or pregnancies that people elect to terminate because I just can't bring a baby into this. So I'm happy to bridge that kind of gap with everybody to reduce the number of abortions if they honestly want to. Similarly, in protecting health care for all, I think that, the actual majority of Americans think that they deserve to have health care. And we don't have a great system yet. It's better than it was, but the improved health care for all would be, health care for everybody. It would include mental, dental, eye, everything. It would be health care that was, comprehensive. It would be no co-pays, no deductibles. It would cost us less than we are already paying for health care as a nation, 17 to 19% of our GDP, because other countries haven't figured out to where they can provide health care for everybody at half the price that we have to now. And we're at least as smart as they are. We're as smart as the French or as generous as the Brits. We really are. And so I think that kind of thing will bridge the gap between right and left. Hope so anyway. Going to work for it.
If you're a guy, talk to your guy friends and just express that women have a side in this. And when women aren't equal, neither are you. Individualism's a lie. Nobody got here on their own. Everyone needed a woman to get here. Time to respect that.
If this small group of radical rightists remain in charge and the Supreme Court remains what it is, this will not be our America anymore. Not at all. It's just nothing like I knew. So that's how I'm feeling. Yeah, the division is scary. It's scary.
I'm a veteran and I believe in abortion. I served this country as a medic, so I believe if I could serve my country, I have a little bit of a say. I think that's it.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was a fantastic interview, very insightful, and I really appreciate the time.
You're welcome.
So again, it's really just about bringing awareness to things and talking to people that may not be aware of what's happening. Because in Oregon, we have the luxury of not knowing, right? Because it's not directly affecting us. So this is the biggest thing. We're hoping that it continues to get bigger.
Yeah, we were here demonstrating because the Supreme Court just overturned Roe v. Wade, and we were here to show our outrage over that and just make our voices heard, because I think everyone had a lot of anger that day. We still do, and it's getting tiring, but we're never going to stop. So, yeah.
You guys do a lot of these protests. I'm starting to catch on, I've started to run into you guys pretty often. What makes it a thing that you want to do? Why do you feel kind of called to put together so many of these events and do them so effectively, so often?
I feel like we have to do it because someone has to do it. Someone has to fill that niche, I kind of feel like, in the area of advocating for reproductive rights. And that's not to say that there's no one else doing it, but someone needs to do it, so we're here doing it. And I just think it's really important. And there's a lot of anti-abortion people, protesters, and just kind of vibes in the area. And so we want to try to counter that as much as possible.
Was there like a moment when you decided that starting the Rogue Valley Pepper Shakers was something that you had to do? Like, where was the line for you, I suppose, where you had that idea, like, okay, I'm going to start this group and start doing these things? What kind of caused that?
Yeah, so I, over the years living in the Rogue Valley, had seen the Rogue Valley Salt Shakers protesting at Pride events and in front of Planned Parenthood clinics and stuff like that. And eventually, when I was 17, I decided to just start coming out when they came out to protest the Planned Parenthood clinic down the street on Tuesdays. And I just came out and started blocking their signs and formed the group along with several of my friends in high school. And shortly after that, Sam came and joined me, brought out a bunch more people, and we've just been going ever since. So I just kind of started it because I saw a necessity in our community for this form of activism and combating misinformation and hate.
So are you a Rogue Valley native long-term, or like from here originally?
I moved to the Rogue Valley with my parents when I was 9, so I've lived here for most of my life that I can remember. I mean, not most, but for a big chunk of it. So I've lived here for a long time and care about it.
Yeah, you clearly care about the community. Is this a place you want to stay?
Yeah, I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. I want to stay here and make the community a better place.
You and I are going to be getting to know each other then. I say the same thing. This is where I want to hang out for the long term.